Almost half of household waste destined for New South Wales landfills consist of food and garden organic waste. Space in landfills is rapidly running out, and burying organics is a waste of a valuable resource. While many facilities are not taking this food and garden waste and turning it into valuable compost, some are, and this compost has potential to benefit commercial horticultural systems. Biomass Solutions Manager Alan Wright tells us about the composting process.
We process domestic and commercial green waste here at the facility. The green waste comes in the trucks, it's ground and then loaded into the composting bays. It takes about 21 days for the material to go from one end of the composting bays to the other. In that time it sits at around about 60-65 degrees at about 45 to 50% moisture content. Once it's been through that process, it comes outside here for natural maturation in these windrows, okay? And then when it's matured, we put it through the screener, and it's a 25mm screen, and then it's sold to growers and the public. We use accredited labs to do a 4454 Australian standards, and that testing's available.
Justine Cox is a soil scientist at the New South Wales DPI and has over 15 years' experience with compost. Here she tells us about the properties of compost.
Good quality compost provides a variety of benefits to soil. Compost can increase the water holding capacity, which means that more rainfall and irrigation is held in the soil for the plant roots to access. Compost helps improve soil structure, improving conditions for root growth. Diverse soil organisms in the compost, such as bacteria and fungi, are vital in making nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus more available to plants. Compost has been shown to reduce the impacts of Phytophthora in some crops.
One of the constraints of farmers using compost is the ease of application.
The truck is an all-wheel drive truck. It has the ability to access most difficult sites. It pneumatically applies the material through a 4-inch hose. The machine can apply up to 12 cubic metres per hour, depending on the situation and the application that it's being used for. From the truck location, we have the ability to blow material up to 120 metres. The machine has the ability to blow all grades of compost, as well as all sizes and all grades of hardwood and pine mulches. We can either preload off-site or use a bobcat or a front-end loader to load on-site.
Where access is good, belt spreaders can also apply recycled organics very quickly.
So we've got a Seymour mulch spreader. It's about a 4 cubic metre capacity, and what happens is that there's a walking floor on the bottom, and it moves the material onto a conveyor which then applies it to the interrow. If we were applying composts with the side throw spreader, the compost would need to be of a fairly fine consistency and not too sticky so that it moves freely out of the conveyor. It handles wood chip of all different sizes fairly well, but the smaller and finer the material, the better it seems to handle it. The differences we've been able to see with the compost and the wood chip is that, particularly on this block, because the trees are older and much bushier than the rest of the farm, they do tend to use a little bit more nitrogen, and we do have issues with nitrogen deficiency in this block. But the lines where the compost was applied seem to have less yellowing of the leaves in the middle, which is where the nitrogen deficiency first shows itself. Subsequent soil tests showed that there was actually more available nitrogen in the soil on those lines with compost. The only reason we apply the wood chip is for weed suppression. We have moved away from using wood chip actually now to using a plastic weed mat because we think we get better weed control. Wood chip does tend to, you need to reapply it every year or every second year depending on how thick it's applied, and it doesn't quite give as good weed control as what the plastic does. and it does seem to leach away some nitrogen from the plants as well.
Russ Glover is an owner of the Blueberry farm whose property this trial is being run on. He shares his views on the recycled organics trial.
Well, the trial here is to actually work out how effective using compost and hardwood chip is in the commercial growing of blueberries. I want data, reliable data, that can actually tell me in a commercial sense whether or not it's worth using the compost, whether it's worth using the hardwood chip or a combination of both, compared to the conventional type of growing systems we're actually using for blueberries at the moment. For me, using compost is actually increasing soil health by adding organic matter to the soil, which in turn leads to better water retention, and we're looking at how it will suppress weed growth on the actual mounds of growing blueberries, but overall improving soil health. Well, there is definitely a market advantage in growing blueberries organically, along with all other fruits that are growing organically. We're not precious about growing organically. We need to have a system that works best from a commercial point of view, that's good for both the grower and the consumer. And I'm hoping that we will have both a reduction in the costs associated with growing blueberries and an increase in the actual profitability of growing blueberries.
Throughout the trial, monitoring of soil nutrients, plant nutrients and moisture availability was undertaken.
Monitoring of the trial showed that the compost increased organic matter, increased the cation exchange capacity and also reduced soil acidity. Soil moisture was higher under the wood chip than under the weed mat treatment. Soil and leaf nutrients should continue to be monitored as compost does not address all existing nutrient limitations.